some chips.
Okay, everybody. Welcome to episode 11. Right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. It's getting crazy. And today we have an expert introvert with us.
Yeah, and a censor.
Also an expert woman. And a censor.
Yeah, all of that.
That's right.
It's Shayla again.
Hi, guys.
That's right.
She's
Shayla.
the best.
Thanks for having me back.
And
You're
she's
welcome.
well rested. Not sore.
I got 4 whole hours of sleep. It's great.
Yeah,
I'm doing
she
good.
ran a marathon today. Here's a
Small.
funny thing. I got way more sleep than her, and I'm really tired. I'm way more tired than she is.
Yeah. Sure, I got 8 hours, man. I've been doing pretty well. On average, I just get 8 hours because I don't sleep with an alarm. I just wake up whenever I wake up.
That's
Nice.
great.
It's
I want to do that.
somebody asked me like a couple Sundays ago how I look so youthful when I realized how old I actually was, and I said I get 8 hours of sleep,
Nice.
and they both
the key.
said we don't get that much sleep.
You're like, well, that's why you look like crap. And you look like you're 80.
I'm an 8 hours of sleep kind of girl.
I said
love
nothing
my
of the
sleep.
sort. Yeah, sleep is great. Okay, well, let's do a little recap. So last time we were talking about Myers-Briggs, or MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator.
Yeah.
And we gave a little bit of general introduction about some of the different letters. Talked just briefly about how the first letter is extraversion versus introversion. Second is intuiting versus sensing. The next is thinking versus judging.
Nope. Thing versus feeling.
Yeah, sorry. Thinking versus judging. Yeah,
It's
Feeling.
okay.
Stop judging me. Anyways, and the next one is perceiving versus judging.
There we
go. And so, we basically gave kind of a brief overview about that.
Yeah.
Anything to kind of recap? About that, Bryce?
Well, just, I mean, we kind of did things out of order. I did things out of order. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Just remember that the middle 2 letters have to do with our primary brain functions according to their theory, right? That sensing versus intuition is about how we prefer to get information. Feeling versus thinking is about how we prefer to make decisions. The last letter, judging versus perceiving, is about which of those functions is dominant for us.
Yeah.
Making decisions or getting information. And then the first letter is like our orientation to the world, I guess.
Sure.
So
Okay. And that's basically what we're talking about today. I did have a conversation with somebody talking about the M versus S stuff that we'll get into in our next episode. Yeah. So interesting and fun stuff. So okay. Well, so I don't think I have anything else to recap on. But a lot of the information we're getting today comes from a website called Personality Pages. I did want to make one point too that my favorite online free test or assessment, if you will, for Myers-Briggs is at a website called Human Metrics. And so if you go there, I think it's humanmetrics.com. I think it's like 70 questions or something.
does it,
And
with the results, does it break it down as a percentage, or does it just give a concrete, you are E?
That's a good question. I don't know. The one that Shayla took gives a percentage, but
That's
do
good.
you remember where that was?
Yeah.
So it's 16 personalities. I think it's 16personalities.com. The
Okay.
numbers 16. I really like that one. I feel like the results that I got from that one as I'm reading through them, I related to better than most results. Like I thought, oh, that is true, and that's true about me, and I just
Okay.
kind of liked how they combined everything.
Okay.
Again, if you want like the cream of the crop
Yeah.
results, you'll have to pay for it at CPP. Which, by the way, I tried to retrieve my results when I took that, and I haven't got them yet. Hopefully next time, so I can kind of tell us about the subscales and everything
Sure.
that it has. Anyway.
I thought you were going to say, if you want a really good one, you have to pay Bryce. I'm glad you didn't say that. Sure.
Well, you guys can always pay me. All you listeners out there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did a paid one at some point.
I would not say no.
Yeah, that's true.
B.O.B.
Right. He would even put some nerdy glasses on and look official while he was doing it. Yeah, so there's another point that I was going to make. I'm trying to remember now what it was, though. Oh, I know. I was gonna say about Shayla's comment about feeling like a describer. Well, the first time I took one of these online tests, and what was it? Did that one you take, Shayla? Was that one free?
Yes.
Oh, it was free.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's 2 free ones: 16
personalities
and human metrics. But it was like the first time I took it. The first time I feel like I took it accurately, where I could the first time I took it, I was like, I don't know the answers to these questions. I've never thought about these before, and so I think I got some things wrong. But once I felt like I was understanding the questions later and took it and answered it accurately, then when I read the description, I was like, this really describes me pretty well. But then I thought, wait a minute, this maybe is just like astrology. Like, they probably all sound like me. But then I went and read the descriptions of the other personality types, and I was like, no, that does not sound like me. Yeah. So it gave me some, I feel like it gave it some credibility. That like, okay, that one just described me, the other ones really don't. So
and technically, I don't know. I would quibble a little bit about people's familiarity with it, like as an impediment to it giving you accurate results. Because I mean, it is self-report, and it's any good psychometric test is meant to not require homework ahead of time, so
Oh, so that's fair. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually took the 16 personalities one like back in 2014 maybe or 13.
Okay.
A long time ago, and then I retook it just this year or maybe the end of last year, not remembering that I had taken it before, and I got the exact same result, which I was surprised by.
Sure.
I thought, I guess I didn't skew this anyway for wanting to be a different person or whatever. So
that's been my experience as well. And one of the friends I was talking with this week about this had the same experience as well. Also, a guy friend down in Phoenix. In that, the first few times I took it, it was kind of a little wobbly, but then in the past, probably 10 years, every time I've taken it, I've always gotten the same results.
Yeah.
Now, to some extent, now when I see the questions, I kind of know probably, this is going to affect that letter, and I know what, but so maybe I'm scared, I don't know. But anyways, okay.
So I just want to say something. So, again, if a person takes it and is like, oh, this is crap, I don't believe this at all, or if they're like, well, this is mostly accurate, but I don't know. So
and
just
they're probably INFJ. But anyways, just kidding. That one's for you, Evan.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, you gotta understand me or nothing. I have no middle ground on this.
Cannot be put in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
So I for a long time I thought I was an introvert.
Sure.
Because I liked spending a lot of time alone. But I also really liked being around people. Taking that more advanced version with the subscales really helped me understand the nuance behind why, or helped me understand that nuance in my personality. And it helped me more fully embrace the fact that I am an extrovert who has some introverted qualities. So yeah, I mean, it really can impact how we see ourselves and how we behave, and it can maybe reduce some of our internal angst, maybe.
So,
people always think I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
But I know I'm an
do.
introvert. But as I read through this, one of the reasons I like the 16 personalities, as I read through, it said, as far as introverts go, this is one of the more social introverts.
Interesting.
Of all of them. So.
That's really interesting also because Bryce and I, actually, we've assessed with the same type, basically. And ours says, as far as extroverts go, we're one of the more introverted.
That explains
No wonder
it.
we're all friends.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, cool. Well, so that's basically what we're talking about today, is a little bit more of an overview of extroversion versus introversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I hope you all are ready for this. By the way,
brace yourselves.
Yeah, brace yourselves, introverts.
I'm probably not going to talk much. No.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Shayla's done for the rest of the episode.
Thanks, guys.
Because as we just took away all her energy from her batteries and recharged ours. Yeah. By the way, people spell this differently in different websites. I've noticed some people spell introversion with an O, intro, and some with an A, introversion.
Oh.
I think.
And same with extroversion.
Yeah,
Extra or
extroversion,
extro.
Extroversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, extrovert. So, anyways, I'm not sure which is correct, but you know what we're talking about, people.
Yeah.
We're not going to be responsible for, the poor lexicon or the poor whatever of all these different websites.
That's right. Not our responsibility.
And that doesn't necessarily mean they've got bad science. But
The question is,
You
how
might
are
be
you
able
going to
to-
spell it on your title when you post this podcast?
Oh, the true way,
Oh,
of course.
everybody look for that.
we're just going to say E versus I.
There we go.
You can extrapolate yourself. Like when Bryce had his birthday party this week, and he said, "My 3X birthday party."
30x.
30. So
Yeah.
nobody knew exactly how you got to decide. Okay, so extroversion versus introversion. So we've kind of touched on this lightly a little bit, but basically, kind of, what would you say this describes? How would you describe this, Bryce?
Our orientation to the world, or maybe our emphasis. I mean, I like these notes you got from whichever website that was. I can't remember.
Personality pages? I think it's
think so,
personality
yeah.
pages.
So I can just read it. It says, when we talk about extroversion and introversion, we're distinguishing between the two worlds in which all of us live. There's a world inside ourselves and a world outside ourselves. When we're dealing with the world outside of ourselves, we are extroverting. When we're inside our own minds, we are introverting.
Yeah, I thought of the movie preview voice when I was reading this. It was like, in a world.
Yeah, anytime it says in a world.
In a world inside ourselves. But, yeah, sure. There's a cartoon I have here from another book. I had this book by Renee Barron called What Type Am I?
Which is not the same person as Brene Brown.
No, it's not. She's a mighty imposter. No, she's Renee Barron. She wrote a pretty cool book with a lot of descriptive cartoons, and one of the cartoons for extroverted versus introverted, which we might actually just abbreviate to E versus I in some of this. But the E, it's like it's got a plugging the person into the world,
Yeah.
and feeling energized,
Yep.
and then the I has. The introvert has a plug into themselves,
Yeah.
feeling calm and peaceful. By the way, my younger brother is an introvert. I think he's INFJ, and we took this one time with a large group of people of like 1,000 people or something. A big one. It was a big, and
Wait, where was that?
it was like a church event. It was
I
like
see.
a big activity with a bunch of young
Wow.
singles.
Thurston.
Uh-huh.
Thurston? Thousand.
There's that.
I just woke up
So,
recently.
I don't know.
And I didn't run a marathon like
Okay.
like Shayla.
Yeah, he did. Bryce still thinks this is all a dream.
Wake up,
Soon
Bryce.
it will become a nightmare.
Am I being
Birthday hangover,
incepted?
right?
No, yeah, you're being incepted. Dang it. The dream is collapsing. Gotta kick your chair and
Someone
fall
wants
backwards.
me to break up my family's businesses.
Yeah.
Joke's on them. There is none.
Yeah, it is. But anyways, so it gave us these taglines, like, so ENFP, I was an ENFP, and the tagline on our little sticker that they gave us was, anything's possible. And then my brother's INFJ, and his tagline was, still waters run deep. And I really like that. And I really thought it was interesting that, we took the test, and then we separated into different rooms according to your type. So it was like I was in a room with a bunch of people that had just assessed as ENFPs.
Mm-hmm.
And our room was like a pep rally. Like the girl at the front was like, we don't, let's see, what was like, we like starting projects, but we don't like finishing them.
And everyone says, yeah!
Exactly. Yeah, we all like shouted, yeah. And then we got done really early. And then my friend Seth and I were like, oh, well, let's go check out some of the other groups. So we just started walking around. And every time we would go to another room that had E's in it, they would immediately acknowledge us and be like, what do you guys want? And every time we got to a room with...
Did they acknowledge you rudely like that? What do you want?
Well, not necessarily, but they would be like, you guys need something? You know,
Okay.
Like, they would acknowledge us.
Go on.
They would address us directly. And every time we got to a room with eyes, everybody in the classroom would be like, just kind of quietly sitting, focusing on the front. Some people would look at us, but not that many. And we could just sit there and observe, and nobody said anything. And then later, they would have us all stand up in groups. And so when it was an E group, everybody would stand up and be like, yeah, we're the best. And every time it was a group of eyes, they'd be like, okay, now all the INFJs stand up. And all the eyes would stand up very quietly. and just like not say anything, basically.
Yeah.
It was
I
really
was
interesting.
thinking through myself what I would do in that situation, and
Yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't celebrate. I'd be like, okay, I guess if I have to stand up, I'll stand up, and everyone's gonna look at me.
Right. Okay. I will say, and so yeah, this is the difference between ease and eyes. And I usually kind of describe it as like what recharges your batteries the most. So when I'm asking people, I usually ask you like, well, what is more likely to recharge your batteries? Like, doing something by yourself at home, or going and being with other people and socializing with them. I mean, we all have certain people who drain our batteries no matter what.
That's right. And that's not an introversion extroversion issue.
That's just they have bad personalities.
Well, or bad habits.
Bad habits.
Yeah.
Sure, they're bad listeners.
Well, I mean, because personality doesn't explain everything. It explains a lot about how people behave when they have the latitude to behave how they prefer. But
right.
But a person's gender, a person's upbringing, a person's age.
Sure. Yeah.
So we can't all fit into a box, is what you're saying?
Just that people are complex. But,
right,
but personality, I think, explains a lot. Yeah. Sorry,
I think it does
I
as
interrupted
well.
you though. Sorry.
No, you're good. There's the Big Five that tests one thing that Myers-Briggs doesn't address.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the Big Five. This is a more scientifically validated personality theory. I think it's a lot less useful. But practitioners take it more seriously. That's there's 5 scales. What is it? Extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism is one.
Yeah,
of them.
neuroticism.
I can't remember what the 5th one is.
I was gonna say Myers-Briggs doesn't test neuroticism.
Yeah,
that's one
true.
of its things. So everybody's probably gonna get drained by talking to a neurotic person, I suppose. But,
yeah.
Anyways,
that's true.
Oh, but so one of the things I was going to point out though, like, so Shayla here is talking about how, she thinks to herself, okay, if I have to stand up, I guess I will. Some people who say that, some of these sites where they try to like match you up with like your best complementary type in terms of what would be good in a romantic relationship, will often put E's and I's together, and they'll say because of this dynamic to some extent, like, I's, they don't want the spotlight, and they're happy to give it up, and they're happy to give it to you. And E's want the spotlight, and they're happy to take it.
So you're not fighting for that spotlight.
You're not fighting for the spotlight.
Yeah.
Although I will say that I do feel like I notice, though, that I'll often end up interacting more with extroverts than with introverts. So I feel a little like I have to be more proactive to actually go and try to meet like introvert girls, for example, because my inclination is to initially will be to interact with extroverts because I'll feel like, oh well, they're more talkative and stuff sometimes. But anyways,
my inclination is also towards extroverts as an introvert because it's easier for me to converse with them, and I don't have to come. If I'm talking to another introvert, then we'll just sit there in our happy, awkward introversion and not talk to each other, and it's awkward. But when I talk to an extrovert, they can keep the conversation going, and I can keep up with them.
Okay.
It's just hard for me to do that on my own. Not impossible, but it's harder. It wears me out faster. Yeah.
My brother Sam used to say that because he's an introvert, and he would always end up dating introverts, and he would say that he thinks that introverts get closer together because they actually have to stand closer together to hear one another. So I don't know if that's got any merit to it, but Sam's great. Sam, he used to teach lessons in the church. We were in the same church down in Phoenix, or Tempe. And he would teach lessons every once in a while, and you could totally hear a pin drop in there because if anybody said anything, you couldn't hear him because he would talk so quietly. But I don't know if that has anything to do
that being said, introverts aren't necessarily shy. That's a common misnomer. People say, so-and-so, he or she is really introverted. But they're basing that on the fact that they're shy. But the two are not the same. Like, Shayla is a great example. I mean, I wouldn't describe you generally as a shy person.
I think I've overcome that. I was super shy as a child, and I've worked on it. I put a lot of work into that because that wasn't a quality that I loved about myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I'm a perfect example,
sure,
but
well,
I'm an example of how you can overcome that, I guess.
I mean, you're a bit of a hybrid, and so am I, because I'm a pretty confident person now, but I haven't always been that way, and I've had some some shyness to overcome as well. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I describe myself as a shy extrovert. Like I'm shy. I mean, I'm pretty open and confident once I get to know people well. But like it takes me a while to kind of come out of my shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, you know that thing? Did you ever do this as a kid, Bryce? I don't know if you'd have done this, Shayla. Maybe this is a guy thing, where like in the hallway you like climb up the hallway Spider-Man style.
Oh yeah, with your arms and legs on each side like this.
You have like your arms on one side and your legs on the other, or you're on separate opposite sides. But anyways, like I just remember there was some party going on at my house with like a bunch of adults or something at some point, and I was like, I wanted some attention, but I was shy, and so I just like waited till someone was about to come around the corner. And then I was like, I'll do the Spider-Man thing with the wall.
That's my chance.
And I'll just be like, oh, hey, I didn't even notice you up there. Oh, yeah, I'm just climbing up the wall Spider-Man style.
Oh, that explains why you do that to impress girls. Yeah, it all started in childhood. Yeah,
exactly.
I was like, why does he do that? That's so weird.
Every time there's a girl over here, like, Paul, stop climbing up the wall.
There goes Paul again.
Now, that being said, as a tangent, which we never have on this podcast, men are always... I think a big portion of our brain is dedicated to trying to impress girls.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, we lack the circuitry to approach that in a way that's actually going to be effective.
Yeah, sure.
Although we can develop it. We can develop it.
Sure, I think somebody told me that there was a Futurama episode. I never really watched Futurama.
I watched it a lot. I know which episode you're talking about.
Okay, you do then. Where they, doesn't it like they somehow fix that so guys don't have the desire to impress women and then the whole world collapses? Because that was keeping the world going around.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, that's because he fell in love with a robot.
Yeah, it
was a public service announcement about not dating robots. Yes, because...
Okay.
Anyways,
okay. A little bit.
Yeah, he lost all his drive because the robot was so agreeable and would just want to kiss all the time, and so he lost his ambition and his drive.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Interesting. We need opposition. Okay, cool. Well, so Bryce, you've got kind of like different ideas about like whether or not this never necessarily makes sense in dating and stuff. Like like most sites will say an introvert with an extrovert is the best combo generally. They'll say like, look, any two personality types can match up. It's fine, but if you just want someone who things are going to go naturally better with, have opposite letters on this first letter.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think about the people I feel close. Well, no, that's the wrong way to frame it. Okay, well, let me put it this way. I have 5 siblings. 4 of them are married. One of them is a mixed pair, extrovert and introvert.
Okay.
One of them is 2 introverts. One of them is 2 extroverts. Wait.
You're up to 3.
Yeah, that was right.
And another one of them is a mixed pair. So 2 mixed pairs, and so all of them really, they're all happily married. They all get along. So I don't know. And I look at my own life, and that the relationships I've had that were the most natural and comfortable to me, for me personally, was with other extroverts. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
I know a lot of
like
introverts who are more comfortable with other introverts because it's not like wild and crazy all the time. Yeah. So just preference, I guess.
Yeah, and again, like personality doesn't explain everything. I think for me, like again, harkening back to my personality identity crisis for a long time. I think one of the big internal obstacles I've had to kind of address and overcome is my overly chillness, and part of this stems from the fact that I was a middle child, and the fact that I had a very hands-on mom who probably did too much for us. Anyway, I historically I haven't been very assertive for myself, and I've just kind of gone with the flow, and in a lot of ways just bided my time. Bade my time. There we go. Yeah. So it hasn't been until recent years where I've really kind of worked through some of that and like taken more ownership over my life, learned to, develop habits of being more assertive. And I mean, I've always had some of that. So I guess for me, being too much introversion in my life, whether that's my own behavior or, another introvert, to me, at least right now, I mean, maybe my perception, maybe things will change, but it feels like a step in the wrong direction for me. Like I actually need more fuel to like be assertive and not introspective, because I've spent so much time I feel like I've spent too much time being introspective and non-productive, so to speak, or not engaged with the outward world. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Thinking as you were saying that, how you don't want to be pulled into that introversion side of you because you're more of an extrovert. And I like being pulled into the extroverted side of me because I'm more of an introvert. But those are both of both of us have both of those to some more extent than most people, I would say.
Yeah.
So just interesting thinking about how some introverts are really introverted and love to stay there. So they'll want to be with people who will keep them there.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be with someone who pulls you into that. And I don't want to be with someone who pulls me into that side because I love my extroverted side.
Yeah.
Just interesting thought.
Yeah. And I think there's probably an issue of like, what's our tolerance for risk and our appetite for growth and challenge, which I think can vary from people to people as well. Because for some people, like, I just want someone I'm totally comfortable with that doesn't stretch me too much.
Doesn't stir the pot.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have dated both extroverts and introverts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is hard to say because I think, like you say, there are a lot of other things that go into what makes a relationship good or not.
Yeah.
So I do think just from the perspective of how I enjoyed the relationship socially, I think that when I've dated extroverts, it's felt more fun at the outset. But I tend to think like I probably would have appreciated the introverts more over time. If I had like dated them for longer periods of time.
Yeah,
I did appreciate them. But I do feel like I don't know. I do kind of buy into this whole thing of like why I's and E's can match up well.
Well. Sorry.
And I will say, like in fact, a lot of these will put me with two different types, and we'll say these are your best types, two types. And we'll say one of those types really has been like those have been like the girls who I've felt most naturally like enjoy, like just most naturally enjoyed spending time with them. So, anyways,
so I just wanted to add, extroverts tend, again, our personalities and our outward behaviors. I mean, our outward behaviors do, to a great extent, flow from our personality preferences, right? Someone who's more extroverted is going to tend to, be out and about on a Saturday, for instance, or meeting up with friends, or working on their car, as it says.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was kind of funny, or cooking dinner, or making a cup of coffee. Which I found that interesting. I thought to myself, like, just because it's doing something outside of your internal mental world, I guess. Although I in my mind, I was imagining, like, working on your car and, like, talking to it, like, don't worry, Bubba, I'm going to get you working in no time. Like, you're socializing with the car. Or the car's, like, asking, am I going to make it now?
You're like, of course. Yeah.
Tell my family I love them.
You're like, don't say that. Tell your family yourself.
Yeah,
you're going to make it.
The mechanic's like, you're going to be home in time for Christmas. Don't you stop looking at me. Keep your eyes open. Keep your headlights on.
Don't you quit on me. So it's interesting that the notes we have from personality pages, under introverted or under extroverting it, one of the examples of behaviors is listening to what someone is saying, which actually I think is being a little generous. I think extroverts can be pretty bad listeners, actually, at least compared to introverts.
I don't know if I agree with this list because it says talk to other people, listen to what someone is saying, cook dinner, work on a car. Those are all like, I read this and I was like, well, maybe I'm an extrovert by this definition because I love to do all those things more than staying at home and reading a book. And
I thought about that as well.
But I do relate to a lot of these introvert ones too. Yeah. I relate to all of them.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense because you we found that you're kind of towards the middle.
Yeah.
It's not sure. I mean, I think like when you're cooking dinner or when you're working on a car, if you're you might still be like in your internal mental world while you're doing that.
But does that mean I'm cooking dinner? Is that cooking dinner with other people? Cooking dinner by myself? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, these are examples. I don't think they're perfectly representative. Okay, but then under the introverting examples, it says things like read a book, think about what we want to say or do. What's funny?
That one, because when I was reading this that Renee Barron book one time, I was about to give a presentation about Myers-Briggs stuff, and I read this. Introverts like to think about what they're going to say before they say it, and I read that, and I was like, "What? There are people in the world that do that?"
Well,
yeah.
And you did not think that.
No, I did.
Really?
I absolutely did. And I asked my roommate
so
Evan. I was like, "Evan, you're an introvert, right? I mean, do you think about what you're going to say before you're going to say it?" And he said, "Yeah, all the time."
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and then he paused for a minute to think
yeah.
about what he was going to say.
And then he paused for about 10 seconds and then said the most perfect response. No, it had not occurred to me. Like, I feel like I'm always shooting from the hip and just like formulating my thoughts as I speak them.
Well, and that's another. What's that?
When we were talking about this podcast, I said, "Hey guys, let's have our notes ready this time," and you were like, "Meh." Yeah. But maybe that's because I have to think about what I'm going to say before I say it, and you guys are just like, "We'll just say whatever."
To be fair, we had notes last time.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
But though, ironically, I had prepared notes and Shayla had not.
Oh,
but I had done my research.
Yeah, yeah, good. Well, but you know that's one of the another one of the like common ways of describing difference between extrovert and introvert. You know, like, do you tend to think before you speak? You know, or think before you act, or do you tend to, you know, think through your speaking? You know, think out loud. You know, and yeah, I mean, there's like an activity component, or it could be described as a matter of like how we approach actions. Like introverts tend to be think, do, think. You know, and extroverts tend to be do, think, do.
That
makes sense.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Cool. Well.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So
yeah,
one more thing I want to say about the So under the examples, you know, it said read a book, think about what we want to say or do, are aware of how we feel. I think that one's huge. Think through a problem so that we understand it. Kind of going back to what you were saying, Paul, about you're kind of, you know, suggesting that introverts might have some more like internal insight and clarity compared to extroverts, and I think that can definitely be true. Which I think can aid a relationship. You know, as an extreme example, which no one really fits. You know, an extrovert who is always like on the go, always do, always engaged. You know, they may not spend much time like thinking things through. Like, you know, well, what am I trying to accomplish? You know, what's the driver behind this conflict I'm having in this relationship? Or, you know, why is it that, you know, what's behind this challenge that I'm facing? Because they don't spend the time to they don't sit around and think about it. You know?
Yeah.
Not to say they can't, and not to say that they don't ever. But
yeah, they don't as often though. Yeah, somebody asked me my first winter up here in Salt Lake. I think I was having that seasonal affective disorder thing where I wasn't getting enough sunlight. I didn't think about it.
Thank you. Just revealed where we live, which is fine.
Salt Lake, Uzbekistan.
There's actually a Salt Lake in India. We could be there.
There we go. Anyway, sorry, go on. It was going to come out eventually. Because you're an extrovert. You speak before you think. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think I might have said Sandy earlier. At any rate, and somebody asked me my first winter up here, like, how are things going for you? And I thought for a second, I said, I feel really moody, and I don't know why. And then I ended up going on a flight down to Phoenix for like Thanksgiving. And as the plane rose above the inversion and the sunlight came through the window, I felt like a plant. And I was like, that's what I'm missing. It was like, it had not occurred to me what I was missing, or necessarily that I was in a bad mood until somebody asked me. You know? Anyways, we better wrap this one up. But I guess as a closing thing, I would just say that if you buy into what some of the sites say about extroversion versus introversion for romantic relationships, it might do you well to consider those who are the opposite of what you are on that. You know, may or may not, but I've found it helpful that if you're an extrovert, if you feel like you're mostly energized by the external world, by socializing and stuff like that, that doesn't tend to drain you, then you may want to consider others, from a dating perspective, others who are the opposite of you. Or live an introverted life.
That's a good point. I would just add...
or vice versa.
And I would add, I think the more extreme you are on one end or the other, the more I think you'd benefit from being with someone who's maybe an extreme in the other direction, or at least more in the other direction.
Yeah, and maybe you should deal with that neuroticism at some point.
Yeah, deal with that neuroticism, guys.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Next time, we'll be talking about N versus S. So, okay.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app and give us a rating. Thank you.